there's a lot of things that Dana and I agree on. There have been personal attacks, which he started, I will point that out, calling my fights fake, hiring coaches for Ben Askren, bringing in the steroid accusation.
And I didn't even know Jake Paul was fighting. So he's saying all this shit. I was in Italy. I didn't even know the guy was fighting. When Jake Paul lost to Fury, I haven't really paid attention to Jake Paul.
I have love for Jake too. I don't know what a
Jake Paul has stirred up controversy once again, but this time the fallout might not work in his favor. UFC President Dana White just dropped a verbal bombshell, dismantling Jake's 4-year strategy with the kind of precision only he could muster.
The time I ever talk about Jake Paul is if I'm asked about him. He just brought him up.
I have a great
I
question.
wouldn't have brought him up, right?
White's critique wasn't just a quick jab. It was a methodical breakdown of Jake's entire career, from his selection of aging opponents to the alleged fight scripts that make professional wrestling look unscripted. If you've ever doubted Jake's legitimacy as a fighter, Dana's takedown will leave you convinced that the so-called problem child is more interested in headlines than hard-fought victories. It all started when Dana, never one to mince words, was asked about Jake Paul. "Do you think I'm sitting around thinking about Jake Paul?" "No, I'm not," he said, brushing off Jake's latest antics as little more than noise. But then came the deeper cut.
Do you think, with all the shit that I got going on and what we're doing, you think I'm thinking about Jake Paul?
No.
I'm not.
So what would one?
And I don't mean that in a way to shit on the.
He's making a lot of money.
It's just the truth.
Dana called out Jake's calculated matchmaking strategy, accusing him of cherry-picking opponents who are either too old, too small, or well past their prime. According to White, this is not the behavior of a serious fighter. And with Jake's recent fight against Mike Tyson, a leaked fight script has added fuel to the fire, making it clear that his career is more scripted spectacle than authentic competition.
We do in the UFC is the best in the world fight the best. That's what we do, you know. What Jake Paul and those guys do is completely different. And again, the kid's doing his thing. I'm not shitting on him. And listen, if smaller, older guys want to fight him, then they're doing their thing.
Jake Paul entered the boxing world as a disruptor, but his approach has drawn equal parts attention and criticism. While his fights have attracted millions of views and generated hefty pay-per-view sales, fans and analysts alike are beginning to see through the cracks. From Tyron Woodley to Anderson Silva, Jake's opponents have followed a predictable formula. Legendary names who no longer pose the same threat they did in their primes.
Sometimes.
And he calls people out for attention.
Yeah.
When you call Alex is a superstar right now.
Dana White didn't hold back when addressing this strategy. "What we do in the UFC is the best fight the best," he said. "What Jake Paul does is completely different," and he's right. Jake's playbook has always revolved around spectacle over substance, with his marketing team crafting narratives that make his mismatches seem like monumental showdowns. But even the best marketing machine can only cover up so much, and the Tyson fight may have finally exposed the farce. The build-up to Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson promised an iconic clash of eras, a YouTube sensation stepping into the ring with one of boxing's all-time greats. It sounded too good to be true, and as it turns out, it was.
I always thought that Netflix was crazy not to get into live sports sooner than they did. Those guys truly have a global footprint. I think they're late to the game, but it was a big success.
The performance of the broadcast, did that give you pause to do business with Netflix at all?
I didn't think the event was a great event, but they needed to do that. They knew Mike Tyson was going to bring in big...
Days before the fight, a script was leaked online detailing every move, every round, and even the dramatic fifth-round comeback that Jake was supposed to stage. Fans were outraged. They didn't pay to see a poorly rehearsed play. They wanted a fight, a genuine test of skill and grit. Instead, what they got was a live-action charade that would have made pro wrestling blush.
He's not his own boss.
And two, he won't do it. He knows better.
Tyson, at 57 years old, still managed to land punches that exposed Jake's lack of skill. Even as the latter played out his scripted role, the backlash was swift, with even Dana White calling the event a disgrace to combat sports. If there's one thing Jake Paul knows how to do, it's stay in the headlines. From Canelo Alvarez to Alex Pereira, Jake's list of callouts reads like a who's who of combat sports legends. But here's the catch. These fights will never happen, and that's exactly the point. Take Alex Pereira, for example, a former kickboxing champion and one of the most dangerous men in combat sports. Pereira recently solidified his reputation with a dominant win over Jan Blachowicz at UFC 291.
I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Who gives a shit what I think? It's not my fight. I love Mike Tyson, you know, personally as a friend, and he's one of my favorite athletes of all time.
Dana White didn't mince words when asked about the prospect of Jake stepping into the ring with Pereira. It would be murder, he said, flatly dismissing the idea. Jake's callouts aren't challenges. They're calculated stunts designed to keep his name trending. Dana White's criticism of Jake Paul goes beyond personal disdain. For Dana, Jake represents a growing problem in combat sports, the prioritization of spectacle over authenticity.
Now, what did you expect? Seriously, when you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, we were like, holy f***, I'm about to see the greatest live sporting event of all time.
Boxing, already struggling with credibility issues, has been further tarnished by the rise of celebrity fighters who value viral moments over genuine competition. The UFC is built on one core principle: the best fight the best, Dana emphasized. What Jake Paul does is completely different, and that difference, according to White, is dragging down the credibility of combat sports as a whole.
And all the people that are, there's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
Jake's recent fight with Nate Diaz on August 5th, 2023, is a prime example. Despite months of buildup, the event reportedly underperformed in pay-per-view sales. Compare that to Alex Pereira's fights, which consistently draw massive audiences among hardcore fans, and the contrast becomes clear. Jake's strategy of hype over substance is losing steam. For years, Jake Paul has thrived on being the disruptor, the agitator, the man who could make you watch, even if you hated him. But now, even his most loyal fans are starting to question his motives. The Tyson fight, the leaked script, and the hollow callouts have painted a picture of a career that's more performance art than professional sport.
Put together a training camp and come in and, I don't like to see guys fighting it.
Be
a 31-year age difference during that fight. Just, you guys know what I think of that stuff.
Dana White's dismissal of Jake as a marketer, not a fighter, might sting, but it also rings true. While Jake has undoubtedly brought new eyes to boxing, his antics risk alienating the very audience he worked so hard to build. Fans don't want gimmicks, they want fights, and unless Jake can adapt and prove himself against legitimate competition, his career may go the way of other viral sensations, fading as quickly as it rose. The fallout from Jake's feud with Dana White has made one thing clear: the world of combat sports demands respect, skill, and authenticity. For now, Jake Paul's strategy of scripted fights and clout-chasing callouts is wearing thin. But the question remains, can he pivot? Can he step away from the theatrics and face real competition? Or is he doomed to remain a sideshow in a sport that values substance over style? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, in the world of combat sports, gimmicks can only take you so far.
There's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time, if you didn't think that that's the way to fight, I don't know what people expect.
The best updates on boxing news, moments, events, and actions. Subscribe to Knockout Updates and turn on notifications to never miss out on quality content. And check out our other videos. Until next time, peace out.